Something very different for me this morning. I like to be entertaining, I like to be funny, I like to be encouraging, I like introductions that grab your attention, and I'm really torn with how to best minister and address the issue of sanctity of life versus what we're living in terms of a culture of death that doesn't respect life for not just the unborn, but the elderly, certain populations based on their economics or their skin color or a number of other things. But the shocking reality is that 3,000 women today will think that abortion is their only option. That's 3,000 babies that'll be killed today. And that's 3,000 women who will struggle with the aftermath of that decision, and they will struggle. And we'll look at some of those stats later. As we celebrated the birth of a grandson, that was a difficult 29-hour labor that ended in cesarean, and there were some other issues, and now 3 days later, apparently, some other issues. But 3 weeks ago, Kristen lost a baby. Amara Evelyn Bingaman, named after my mother. You see girls having sex everywhere and don't want to have babies. You see people destroying babies day in and day out. And here's a couple that would love to have a child and raise it. I don't know. I have questions. She said I could share that. She gave me the picture for Christmas. We had a service to honor this life. Past all the deadlines, everything was going well, and then something happened. And they've been waiting for years. I don't understand. But we pray. We give it a name. We mourn. We grieve. There's people who have been through miscarriage. Many here, my wife and I, people say you have 5 children. No, we have 6. We have little Isaac that nobody's ever met here, but we did. This one person yelled at me the other day and said, "You're not pro-life, you're pro-birth. You don't care about those babies after they're born." I said, "Have you seen our home? Have you seen our home? We take people in of all ages. Go to our pregnancy center. After we've spent a year with them and helped them through the pregnancy and the counseling and the parenting classes, and the baby is born, we don't just abandon them. They're allowed to stay for another year or 2 or even 3. Where we help and we supply and we nurture, and we get them into colleges and we do career training, and we almost every, I don't know any that don't. I don't know any of the 200 pregnancy centers I've worked at that don't help the baby after it's born. So my compassion on one side for the woman and for the baby is there. That babies are born. Babies survive abortions and have been left to die. There's 3 people in my agency who survived abortions and were put in a closet or put in a trash can, and they survived. In many cases, the nurses were told to go in a back room and smother them, which was a very common practice for years. Well, we're saying it doesn't matter because he's not born. Well, now the baby's born, and they still killed them. How do they hide some of their numbers? Well, Abby will tell you what she had to do. One lady was in distress during a procedure, and she was hemorrhaging, and she said, "Let's call 911." And the boss said, "No, we can't call 911. Then we'll know that there's people struggling here. But she's dying. Well, we can't let anyone know." Well, shouldn't she go to a hospital? And they don't. They don't do this all the time. They hide the number of people who are sterilized, who hemorrhage, who don't make it to the hospital. If they make it to the hospital, the cause of death is listed as heart failure, not aborted, botched procedure. Oh, and by the way, there is a quota. There's a quota. Pregnancy centers have a quota. Planned Parenthoods have quotas they have to meet. And it was part of the reason that Abby started to say, I can't do this anymore, because she was told she had to double the number of abortions that were done at her center. But she said, "I thought we were here to prevent them." Well, it's what pays our bills, and if we get more money, we'll be able to help more women. So how did they do it? How do you double Well, when a girl says, I'm not sure I want to do this, you say, well, tell you what, I'll offer you $100 off if you have the abortion today. You don't want to come back in a week or two. You don't need to talk this over with anyone. Let's just take care of it today. You'll save $100 and you can go on with the rest of your life. They were counseled on how to bring more people in. His comment was, this is very disturbing. I hope it doesn't prevent other women from getting medical care.
Yep.
Medical care? He's worried that these pictures might keep people from going into the center. In fact, that's why they don't show the ultrasound. They don't want pictures. I didn't do ultrasound this morning because I don't want to use that tool, but it is a tool that can be used for good or bad. They don't want women to see the ultrasound. We know that now because Delaware County, we have an ultrasound. And somewhere around 82 to 87% of the girls, once they see that baby, will choose to keep that baby. Now, is it easy? No. Will they need help? Yes. But they'll keep that baby. We have an ultrasound. We have, it was Eisenhower, right? General Eisenhower, who when they were freeing the Jews from Holocaust camps, said, take pictures of this because someday they'll deny that it ever happened. You need that. The pictures are powerful and they're moving. And you think, well, what about the people who stand outside a pregnancy center and pray? If it's a baby, and it is, why should the baby die? Well, if she has to relive for the next 8-9 months the worst situation that could happen to a woman, and it is. I mean, I've counseled women who have been physically and sexually abused, and I know several who have been conceived and raped. But there's some amazing statistics out here. What if you could find a way to make something good come out of a bad situation? Would aborting that baby actually help that mom that's been raped? Would it? Would it, knowing all the complications that could come just from having a normal abortion? And what if you added the psychological issue of, not only did somebody do something terrible to me, but I now done something terrible to a baby, which is really what happens. The women who abort their babies after rape, which is, again, extremely rare, less than 1%, about 6,000 in the last 5 years, which is still too many. It's too many. But if a woman has been sexually abused and she gets care and she gets to the hospital, they can prevent within the first 24 hours almost always a pregnancy. But even if under that she gets pregnant, what they found is 30% of the women abort the baby. Which is, I understand. I don't want to keep this thing because of what happened. I understand. I don't justify it, but I understand. But of the 30% that abort their babies, 82% said it made the situation worse. Should we not listen to women who have been down this road before? But here's something interesting. How about this? You've never heard this. 70% of the women who were raped and got pregnant that chose to keep their baby, not one say they regretted their decision. Two different studies, thousands of women that they've done over the last 10 years. Women who have kept their baby, some have put it up for adoption, some cared for it themselves, some, there's a number. But can you imagine that they said they wanted to make something good come out of a bad thing? They felt better about, why has no one ever said this? We need to sort through, to me it's the biggest issue. The Christians should take a stand on a lot of things, like caring for the poor, and feeding, and financial stewardship, and the environment. But all those don't affect 3,000 babies today. And the society and civilization that doesn't honor life. Look at history, look at your Bible, and what happens to nations who turn their back on God and destroy the most defenseless of all the people. History should be our teacher. If you really care, that's an issue. Deuteronomy, I'd like to close with these verses. Father, help us. Help us to understand this issue. I don't ever want to be not compassionate. I want to help those who are hurting. I want to help those who have been pressured. I want to help those who have been victims. I want to see healing of those who have been haunted by memories and things that they really didn't want, or even if they did, they were confused and they weren't informed. Lord, give us wisdom. Bless Delaware County Pregnancy Center for Crystal and her team. Help them and a myriad of centers across this land to do good. Help the church to take a stand and be aware of how we can minister to those who sit next to us in the pews who may be victims. But Lord, also help us to be light and to share and protect these precious babies still in the womb, those yet to be even conceived, that they would have life. Oh Lord, forgive us for what we've done as a nation. Forgive the church for being so silent. Help us to represent you well. We ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.